Jordan Maxwell. There's a great lecture he gave about 8 years ago, where he's wearing that tan suit jacket and he's got the black turtleneck sweater. The guy is a wonderful, humble, beautiful man. He's like a walking encyclopedia. And, nobody's perfect. You're bound to make a few mishaps and mistakes here and there. So that's what I wanted to do on this video, is to correct the connection with Judaism and Christianity. I have no quarrel with Judaism or Christianity. I'm just talking about what history has shown me. And that is, let's start with what Jordan Maxwell claims. And he's correct in saying that Judaism is the most eclectic religion on the planet. It is not monotheistic, meaning people believe that Judaism worships one God, but they do not. He says that they worship many. I'll get to why they do that in a minute. However, the Judaism of today, modern day Judaism, is not the old religion of the Israelite religion, the Hebrews. It is not that religion. The ancient Israelite religion had a covenant and a prophecy to be fulfilled, which it was when Christ came. The Israelites who were waiting for their Messiah, when Jesus came, they began to follow Christ. They were Christ followers or Christians. Okay? Those are the real Israelites, the Christians. The ones that we know as Jews today are not that ancient Israelite religion. When Christ came, he predicted the Jewish temple would be destroyed. In 70 AD, it was. The Jews no longer had a temple. In that religion they used to practice, they had 3 things that they required, which was 1, a temple, 2, a priesthood, and 3, a sacrifice. That is the Israelite religion. Without it, there is no religion, because that's what it was. All right. When there was no more temple, there was no priesthood, there was no sacrifice. You understand? So the religion ceased to exist. But those Jews, they didn't want to let go. They wanted to keep their old tradition. They were carnal. They wanted to hold on to their material possessions like a hoarder. You understand? They didn't want their kingdom not to be of this earth. They wanted King David. They wanted a Messiah who would kick ass, like Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee, Steven Seagal, break people's necks. That's what they wanted, because that's what they were used to. Jesus Christ said, "My kingdom isn't of this place," right? It's in heaven, right? And they didn't appreciate how he died. He sacrificed himself. So they didn't like Jesus, those Jews who rejected him. There were some who did accept their Messiah, and those were Christians. And then also who became Christians were the Gentiles, who the church fathers went out to preach, and they, recruited. So the Jews, which we know that word, that term Jew, okay, that comes from a particular tribe, which was the tribe of Judah. So after, in history, there's a turning point when these Jews rejected Jesus Christ. That word Jew takes on a new meaning. It takes on the definition of Christ rejecter. They rejected their Messiah. Okay, that's what the term Jew means. They don't want to have anything to do with Christ. And that's true today. Look around. I mean, you talk to a Jew about any religion, they have no quarrels, no problems with atheism, none with Buddhism, Hinduism, none of that. Even Islam in some cases. But Catholicism and Christ, forget about it. They'll spit on the floor if they hear that name. Why is that? Because that's what the religion is today. It's not the old religion of the Israelites. That old religion became Christianity. Here's why. They had a temple, they had a priesthood, and they had the sacrifice. Jesus Christ was the sacrifice. So if you have a sacrifice, what's the point of having a temple? You don't need to sacrifice animals anymore. You have Christ. He came. He did away with all that, right? So that's what the Catholic Church had established when the church was built on St. Peter's Square, which is the rock on which Jesus said his church will be built on. Peter, the rock, who gave the keys to the kingdom of heaven and earth. It should be bound, right? Peter was the first pope. St. Peter's Square, that's where the Vatican's built. That's the Catholic Church, okay? So now they had the church. The second thing is they had the priesthood. That is the Eucharist, the bread and the wine, right? Communion. Jesus said, do this in remembrance of me. That was the sacrifice that you take when you receive communion. So they had the priesthood, the temple, and the sacrifice. That's the religion now. Those people that are Jews, that's a totally different freaking hodgepodge. And it's not what you think it is. It's nothing Christian. It's nothing holy about it. It's a materialist religion. It's a carnal religion. It literally means Christ rejecter. And for those of you that don't know, the Word incarnate, Christ was God, or the Word in the flesh. The Word was God, the Word was with God, and Jesus Christ was the Word. Well, Word is translated from the Greek logos, and logos means many things, more than just word. It means order of the universe, law, language, discourse, okay? So Jesus being the law incarnate it's important to understand logos, because he was the logos, because he never broke the law, right? He never sinned, because he was the law. They reject logos. Now, I'm not making any anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't have any problem with Jews. I love Jews because I have Jewish family members. My father's side is Jewish. My mom's side is Catholic. I'm just stating the facts here, you know. I grew up celebrating the tradition. I'm very familiar with all of its practices. And Judaism, they're always progressive. Who is always funding and behind, or the majority at least, is always behind progressive movements, which is considered modern or left or democratic. It's always Jews. They're funding they're always funding some kind of anti or opposing whatever teaching the Catholic Church or the Christian morality is. It seems they go against that, right? That's Hollywood, pornography, banking, usury, atheism. I mean, Judaism is eclectic. Getting back to the eclectic thing, the reason why it's so eclectic is because the Jews were banned and banished from Israel. They had no homeland. So they were forced to live among other nations. They lived in Turkey, they lived in Spain, they lived in Europe, Russia, China. And so throughout the last 2,000 years, they incorporated other religious teachings into theirs because they really had no religion. They just had this chip on their shoulder from Jesus Christ. And so this is where you get the Talmud. The Talmud is a collection of rabbinical opinion. It's like a library filled with Jewish rabbis' opinions about washing cups, eating something on Saturday night when the sun goes down, and they even talk shit about Jesus, saying that he's in hell, burning in fucking hot excrement and all this kind of shit. It's just, that's what Judaism has become. It's also incorporated Buddhism, Hinduism. For example, you go into a synagogue, there's no authority on what Jews teach. One rabbi will be teaching about the zodiac. The other rabbi will be teaching about Jews are the chosen. Everybody else it's a racial type of sermon. Or, one Jew will be like talking hippie, love stuff and kisses and bubble gums and kittens. But they're not the same. They have no foundation. It's all over the place. So that's why it's the most eclectic. Over the past 2,000 years, it's incorporated all these other traditions because they have no religion. That's why. That's what I'm telling you. You need to know your history and go back and do your homework, because Judaism is not older than Christianity. All right? And the same thing goes for you Baptists, Protestants, and any of you denominations. Jehovah's Witness, Mormon. You think you know your Christianity? You don't know shit, especially if you don't know your history, because you don't know the tradition and the lineage. And the Catholic Church can trace each church father back to Jesus Christ, to the first Pope Peter, Saint Peter, all right? Literally, the church was built on his body. He's buried there. It's right there. But for those of you who don't want to even to look at these historical facts, you will be lost in your delusion of what you think is real and true. You don't know history, you don't think it's that important. I love these hypocrites. You know, these people who are obsessed with ancient aliens and ancient civilizations, they're experts on what happened before, in the golden age of Kronos, and before the Iron Age came, in the age of Pisces, and Jesus Christ came, and man just went into a slumber and forced to live like slaves because the Vatican and the Jews and all these evil people decided to fucking take over. How could you be an expert of what happened before Jesus Christ came when you don't even know what the fuck happened the past 2,000 years to when he came? You don't even believe that he was even a historical person. To you, I used to think the same thing. There was no Jesus Christ, it's all made up bullshit. How do you fucking know that? You don't know that. You know what it is? You don't know it, and two, you don't care to know it. You don't want to know it. That's what it is. You don't want it.